get the best results, we should reinfect her.
I'll never be safe. They'll never stop looking.
Episode 2 is really about obviously following through on what we started in Episode 1. In Episode 1 we've seen a massive crisis with Anya and Al being rescued from the collapsed hospital. They have to decide whether they can stay in the city and keep looking for Abby, or whether they have to pack up and go. At that point something happens which suggests that they might actually be able to find out where Abby is. It's a clue, it's not conclusive, but it gives them a chance, so it gives them a whole reason to stay. The huge irony of this situation is that it's Tom Price, who's been living in a very hand-to-mouth kind of way for a couple of weeks, who is the person who locates the clue and who gets them back on track. So very reluctantly Greg takes him back into the group. The irony again, multiple ironies, is that something Tom has done while he's been on his own is going to come back and hit Greg very hard, and it will be really, I think in an entertaining way, illustrating exactly what Greg always worried about Tom, that Tom's violence always comes back to haunt you. So it's fun because I think, you know, the episode really shows Tom both as hero and anti-hero. He does a great deal of good and he does a great deal of harm almost simultaneously. I think the great question about Fiona and Whittaker, and the reason I think these characters are so fascinating, is that they are all about the question, what would you do in order to survive? When people are actually good, most of the time, but when tested, go along with evil, that's the fun, that's the interesting thing for a dramatist, I think. And that, I think, is the big issue that Fiona and Whittaker face, neither of whom see themselves as villains at all. Once Abby has returned to the family, nothing will ever be quite the same again. She's very fragile, both emotionally and physically, and she is somebody who is not entirely certain how to be the person she was before. All her certainties have now collapsed. When we leave Episode 2, we're obviously moving into slightly different territory. The family are on the way out of the city. They are reunited. There is a change in the air. But of course we haven't really left anything behind. The lab is still very much a part of the story and will become a much bigger part later in the series. Also, if you're very sharp, you will understand that something that has happened in Episode 2 could present enormous danger to the lab, and indeed perhaps bring a real threat to the lab in a way that they wouldn't expect. If we were going to give each of the episodes an individual title, then this next episode, Episode 3, I think I would probably call Crime and Punishment, because it's really about the consequences of something that was done in the past and whether anybody has the right to exact retribution for that.